So, Crossman, I got a few other things that I'd want to run by you quickly, see if you're into it. We talked about before, Ricochet showed up in New Japan, so this was the clip. And he gets a good reaction here, so just to... He almost tripped, but here we go. He got a big reaction, man. AEW, and like he got a bigger reaction than AEW, kind of like when he debuted there. I feel like this was more of like, oh my god, this guy's here, so he should just spend some time in Japan. I think he'd get more over there, and he should just spend less time telling people to suck his dick on Twitter and stuff. However, though, I wanted to bring this to you, bud. Davey Boy Smith Jr., speaking of Japanese wrestling, wins the All Japan Pro Wrestling Triple Crown Heavyweight Championship. How do you feel about that? Are you a Davey Boy Smith Jr. fan? Were you a fan of the British Bulldog and that? Just give me your overall thoughts, I guess, on this moment, because it's a big deal, man. A lot of people were losing their minds over this, you know?
Well, I'm certainly too young to be a fan of the British Bulldog. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But I mean, good for him, I guess. But at the same time, man, I really do not care about anything New Japan or anything like that, man. It just doesn't interest me.
So All Japan's starting to work with WWE. Are you interested in like all of this WWE ID stuff and like their sort of expansion globally and all of that? Or are you just like, fuck it, as long as their main roster?
I am actually interested in WWE ID, yes, and that's because with the WWE way of training, if they're training them to be ready for NXT and things like that, that's better because you're going to get less people doing super flippy stuff. You're going to get less people doing light tubes and glass and things like that. And it's going to be healthier for people. Obviously, it's going to hurt AEW and other indie promotions. But at the same time, man, I'd rather the wrestlers be healthy and work their way up to the big time rather than settle for, I'm going to work in front of 50 people, but look at me, I can do a few flips. And those people in that crowd of 50 don't really care about the indie wrestler coming out. They care about what that indie wrestler's going to do in an insane spot. You know what I mean? You're going to jump from this structure that's not been built properly because they haven't got the budget to build it properly, or they don't care enough. They jump off the structure into some glass, and they get a holy chant, and then that's it. They don't care about you anymore. So I'd rather people get themselves ready to be a professional wrestler rather than a spot monkey.
Fair enough, man. A lot of people share that sentiment. So speaking of like the WWE ID and that, you know, there are lots of crossovers going on. TNA. Are you a TNA fan from back in the day, or?
No. So I remember when I first watched TNA in 2009.
Yeah.
I was 11 years old, and Jeff Hardy had gone from WWE. I didn't know at the time that he'd been fired due to drugs because, I mean, I'm just a kid. I don't know what's going on. I just know he'd left. And I hated CM Punk for that, man. I fucking couldn't stand CM Punk after that for a while. But I saw Jeff Hardy in TNA. And then I thought, okay, I'll give this show a try. I've seen it a few times before, but I'm going to give the show a try now that I see Jeff Hardy in there. Yeah. And I see AJ Styles, and I look at him, and he's next to Ric Flair. He's being managed by Ric Flair at the time, I believe. And I thought, who the fuck are these guys, man? Who's AJ Styles? Who's Samoa Joe? I don't know who these guys are, nor do I care. And I regret that, because now I do know who they are, I know what they're about, and I do care about them. So that's more of my, I don't know, it's like I was indoctrinated into the Vince McMahon WWE way, if you know what I mean, because the TNA production, it was all different. I think Vince Russo was there at that time. And they're going back and watching some TNA stuff now because they post on their YouTube channel. They'll post like a few hours of content.
Yeah.
Whether it be the full Aces and Eights story, something to do with Conan and Eddie Kingston.
Yep.
And recently they did something to do with MVP and Bobby Lashley. Now I notice in a lot of these videos that TNA put out from back in the day that they're filmed like a reality show, like Teen Mom or Dog the Bounty Hunter, right? And I don't know. I think that's Vince Russo because it's filmed and the camera cuts are done in a way where it is like a reality TV show rather than a wrestling show, and that puts me off. Really puts me off, man. I have to be super baked to sit and watch it.
Fair enough, man. So, those crossovers have been happening. The All Japan crossovers, Pro Wrestle Noah in Japan. We've seen WWE, they're crossing over. And by the way, I agree with your assessment on that. And actually, shout out TNA's YouTube, though. Their YouTube's banging, man. I always say it that their YouTube game helped get them hot again all around. That's just my opinion, but either way. Anyways, so JBL, he showed up in TNA. He showed up in CMLL. He's shown up in all these random indies. He shows up at Destiny Wrestling, and he gives Marty Scurll, who I'll get your thoughts on as well. If you notice, I'm keeping it kind of UK themed here. I'm trying my best.
Yeah.
So JBL shows up. I want to watch this clip with you. And this is amazing. I don't know if you're familiar. Are you familiar with JBL just showing up randomly, clotheslining?
I am, yes. I see him come out in his trench coat. Yeah, I see him come out in his trench coat and his cowboy hat, and I feel a little bit of happiness. I feel, wow, it's JBL. Yeah. Because I never really got to experience much of JBL because I started watching in 2009.
People on him versus Eddie Guerrero, man, they're like, oh, it was racially insensitive, bro. First off, Eddie was his best man at his wedding. They were best friends. And Eddie and JBL, man, they're dynamic. JBL as his heel run. Oh my God, dude. I love that. I love to hate him. He made me sick when I was a kid. But then when I look back on it, I'm like, that's why I loved him so much. But yeah, it's like you said, man, he shows up with a duster and his cowboy hat, and he's just giving you a little taste. It's like an amalgamation of all of his characters sort of over the years rolled into one, and he just knocks dudes out. We don't know why yet, but there will be a payoff.
I haven't experienced that much of JBL because obviously he was in the games, but I started watching in 2009, which is when he retired. He had that, I think it was, how many 21-second match with Rey Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. Rey Mysterio was dressed up as the Joker. Yeah. And that's really all I got to see of JBL, apart from a few DVDs I had of some 2008 pay-per-views. I had the Great American Bash, I had Night of Champions, and I had a few DVDs from 2008 that featured JBL on them. But it's nice to see JBL doing stuff again, man. It'd be nice to see him doing it in WWE, but obviously there's no room for him. I think he's still on a Legends deal, and they're just allowing him to do it anyway, from what I recall. It's nice to see someone come back and do what they want to do again. But if JBL's going for that cowboy character, man, he needs to play some Red Dead Redemption 2. Complete that game a couple of times, and then that'll add to his character.
He's like, video games? I'll clothesline, yeah. And he comes in with this duster, this cowboy hat, and there will be a payoff. JBL ain't just doing this for no reason. He's like whispered things at a couple people. He's shown up in all these different feds, and he is on a Legends deal, and I believe he's also out there scouting, and it's cool to see him give the rub to like Nick Nemeth or a Marty Scurll, I guess, depending how you feel about him. I'm not even overly familiar. What are your thoughts on Marty Scurll, I guess, before we get into this too? So my understanding, he hooked up with a girl who would be underage in like America, but in the UK it's legal, or am I completely off on that?
Yeah, that's pretty much the point. But I don't know how old he was when he did it. But technically over here it's legal, but it is something I'm certainly against. I believe if you're
weird.
20,
it's still weird. Yeah.
I believe if you're 20 plus, man, you should not be you should not be anywhere near a 16, 17-year-old girl.
I agree.
All,
yeah,
so.
I agree with that fully. And then people were like, yeah, like he, took advantage. Sorry, YouTube, whatever, like it was like a situation where people were drinking and stuff. And yeah, if someone's a teen, has teen in their name, and you're like older than 21, I don't know. In America, it's 21. In Canada, like when you're 18, 19, you can start going to bars and stuff like that. So I know like around the world, drinking is whatever. But even that, I don't know, man. If you're like 25, you shouldn't be on the hunt for like 18. That's my opinion.
Oh, absolutely not.
I know he's like blackballed. No, like is he not allowed to wrestle anywhere?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's been he's been blackballed by a few companies. Wasn't he supposed to be joining AEW at the start?
I thought so.
That's when it happened.
Yeah, I thought so. And then NWA as well. He did like a big thing where he showed up there and the crowd erupted, and then sort of COVID and that was going down. Then that stuff came out, like the speaking out thing, and then Marty Scurll sort of disappeared. So I know like NWA didn't want anything to do with him. AEW, I guess, distanced. I know he popped up in a picture with like Shinsuke Nakamura or something, or maybe not even Shinsuke. I'm so sorry if but it was like people from WWE were training jiu-jitsu with Marty Scurll, who was in a picture with like a bunch of people were in this picture, and he was in it. And this was like a few years ago, I think, a couple years ago. And then people were like, oh my God, they train with Marty. Like people were still going off on Marty Scurll. Yeah. So I don't know, but he's wrestling here and JBL clotheslines him. So people are loving that on Twitter. They're like, yes, JBL's a babyface again. Is that Hammerstone? Oh, dope. That's Hammerstone. So this is a TNA talent right here. He crossed over, did an NXT match. Great talent, man. I love Alex Hammerstone. Damn, did someone just yell, he's a pedo out of the crowd? Did you hear that?
You might have to replay it.
Damn, man. I might have to go back a bit. Did he yell that? That's crazy. Oh, he's our hero. Oh, wow. Yeah. See, I'm looking out because they were like booing JBL for clotheslining Marty there. Like they're behind Marty. Yeah, they're behind Marty, man. So, but I see people who are like, anyone who employs him should be whatever. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that? And I guess just the whole Marty Scurll situation.
I don't think we should go to the point where he should be blackballed completely, because at the end of the day, what he did was legal. However, it was morally wrong, and it shouldn't be something you should do. Really, I mean, it's disgusting. I mean, just talking about it now, my face is cringing up because I don't know how someone of his age at that time could do something with a 16, 17-year-old girl.
Yeah, no. I feel it too. It's cringy, bro. It's cringy.